Rosemary Magdalena Albach was born on September 23, 1938 at 2147 in a private clinic on the Sternwartstrasse in Vienna. Exactly 3 weeks after Hitler had annexed Austria and 11 days before the world signed away Czechoslovakia at Munich. Her mother, Magda Schneider, 30 years old and already a star of UFA musicals, lay in a room decorated with swastikas because the clinic belonged to the Reich. Her father, Wolf Albach-Reddy, a handsome Austrian actor famous for smiling in officer uniforms, was filming in Berlin and arrived only for the baptism. The midwife wrote in the register, Rosemary Magdalena, weight 3.4 kilograms, eyes blue, hair blonde, perfect Aryan child. Magda looked at the baby and said, "She has my mouth and Goebbels' timing." They nicknamed her Romy because Rosemary sounded too German, too heavy, too much like the war that was coming. She spent her first 5 years hidden from bombs. In 1939 Magda and Wolf divorced quietly. Magda took Romy and her younger brother Wolf Dieter, born 1941, to the family estate at Skona am Königssee, a fairy tale villa on the Bavarian border where the mountains swallowed the sound of air raid sirens. There, behind blackout curtains, Romy learned to walk on Persian rugs, to speak with Magda's perfect diction, and to pose for photographs the way Magda taught her. Chin slightly down, eyes wide, smile that promised everything and gave nothing. At 4 she already knew how to cry on cue. At 5 she could recite entire scenes from Die Goldene Stadt while Magda filmed propaganda newsreels in Berlin. The war ended in the cellar of the villa. The Americans arrived with chocolate and chewing gum. Romy asked a black soldier if he was the devil because Magda had told her only devils had dark skin. The soldier laughed and gave her a Hershey bar. She never forgot the taste. In 1949 Magda married Hans Herbert Blatzheim, a restaurateur from Cologne who smelled of cognac and money. They moved to a villa outside Cologne where Romy was enrolled in the Goldenberg boarding school, a strict Catholic convent run by nuns who beat her for speaking French, Magda's language of intimacy, and for refusing to eat blood sausage. She escaped into books, Colette, Rimbaud, Françoise Sagan, and into the cinema in Cologne where she saw Audrey Hepburn in Roman Holiday and decided, at 14, that she would rather die than become what her mother had become, a beautiful puppet of men in uniforms. She began smoking in the toilets, stealing communion wine, and writing letters to Alain Delon that she never sent because she had not met him yet. In 1953 Magda forced her into the movies. The film was Wenn der Weiss Flieder wieder Blut, a saccharine remake of one of Magda's old hits. Romy was 14, played a 15-year-old who falls in love with a sailor, and spent the entire shoot crying because the director kept shouting, "More like your mother." The film was a colossal success. Germany wanted its princess back. Between 1954 and 1958 she made 14 more films, almost all with the same formula. Innocent Girl in Dirndl, First Kiss, Tears, Happy Ending. She became Sisai's little sister, even though she never played Sisai, that was Romy's rival, another Austrian child star. She hated every minute. She vomited before each love scene, drank schnapps in her dressing room, and carved "I am not Magda" into the wooden door of her trailer with a compass. In 1958, at 19, she was sent to Paris to play opposite Alain Delon in Christine, a harmless remake of Liebelei. She arrived at Orly wearing a beige raincoat and the terrified expression of someone walking to the scaffold. Delon, 22, already a star, was waiting with a single rose and the smile of a wolf who knows the lamb has already lost. They fell in love on the first day of shooting. He took her to Montmartre, to jazz cellars, to the Seine at dawn. She forgot German, forgot Magda, forgot the convent. They moved into a tiny maid's room on the Rue de Canets, cooked spaghetti on a camping stove, and made love so loudly the neighbors banged on the walls. Luchino Visconti saw them together and said, "They are too beautiful, the gods will punish them." He cast them both in a stage production of "'Tis Pity She's a Whore." The critics called it obscene, the audiences adored it. Romy became engaged to Delon on March 22, 1959 in Lugano. He gave her a ring with a diamond the size of a tear and promised her the world. The world broke them. Delon was offered Hollywood contracts. Romy was still under contract to German producers who threatened lawsuits. She flew back to Munich to film Die Schönlügnerin. he stayed in
revient au
Paris.
père de Romy.
In 1963,
Et
he
encore une
sent her
fois
a
un franc
telegram
succès.
from Mexico where he was
En
shooting with
seulement 2 à
Visconti,
3 ans,
avec
la jeune
Natalie
fille est devenue
J.E.
une star du
Refes
cinéma
Mavai.
allemand.
Pardonne-moi.
Romy Schneider est
Natalie
devenue célèbre à
Barthélemy
l'âge de
became
16 ans.
Natalie Delon.
Elle a joué
Romy
dans le film
swallowed a
historique.
bottle of barbiturates in her hotel room on the Kurfürstendamm. A maid found her in time. She never spoke his name again in public, but kept the engagement ring in a small velvet box until the day she died. She was 25 and already exhausted. She fled to Rome, to Visconti, who cast her as the mistress in Boccaccio 70, then in Paris with Orson Welles for the trial, then with Visconti again for the episode Ludwig II in Sandra. She learned to act with her whole body, to cry in Italian, to laugh in French, to die in close-up. She cut her hair, lost weight, smoked 3 packs a day, drank vodka with breakfast. In 1966 she married Harry Mayen, a German theater director who had survived Auschwitz as a child. Their son David was born on December 3, 1966 in Berlin. For a moment she believed in domesticity, a house in Grunewald, curtains, Sunday roasts. It lasted 3 years. Harry drank, screamed, hit her once. She left with David and never looked back. In 1968 she met Claude Sautet. He offered her César et Rosalie first, then Les Choses de la Vie. She became the face of the new French cinema. Wounded, intelligent, sensual, unbreakable. She worked with Claude Chabrol, La Piscine, Les Innocents aux main sales, with Jacques Deray, La Piscine again, with André Zalowski, L'Importance d'Aimer, for which she won the first César for Best Actress and thanked A Man I Loved and Who Is No Longer Here without naming Delon. She bought a house in Boissy-Saint-Avoire, planted roses, raised David alone, and waited for love that never hurt. It never came. In 1975 she married Daniel Biasini, her secretary, 11 years younger. Their daughter Sarah was born in 1977. The marriage was violent from the start. Screaming, broken plates, reconciliations in tears. In 1979 Harry Mayen hanged himself in Hamburg. Romy flew to the funeral with David. They came home and said nothing for days. On July 5, 1981 David, 14 years old, climbed the spiked fence at Daniel's parents' house in Saint-Germain-en-Laye to take a shortcut home. He slipped. The spike went through his femoral artery. He bled to death in minutes. Romy arrived after the ambulance. She held what was left of her son and did not scream. She made a sound no one who was there ever forgot. She buried him in Boise next to an empty plot she had bought for herself. After the funeral she locked herself in David's room and stayed there for 3 weeks, eating nothing, drinking only vodka and sleeping pills. She tried to work. La Banquière in 1980, La Passante du Sans Souci in 1982, her last film, playing a woman who loses her child and spends her life searching for him. On the set she was professional, distant, already elsewhere. On May 29, 1982 she was found dead in her apartment on the Rue Jean Mermoz in Paris, seated at her desk, head on her arms next to a photograph of David. The official cause was cardiac arrest brought on by alcohol and barbiturates. The press called it suicide. Her friends called it a broken heart. She was 43 years old. She was buried on June 2 in Boissy-Saint-Avoire beside her son. Delon came alone, placed a single white rose, and stood in the rain for an hour without moving. The grave is simple, Romy Schneider 1938 to 1982, and beneath it, in smaller letters, E.T. son Phil's David. Every September 23 strangers still leave roses and letters that say, Merci d'avoir été si triste. Romy Schneider lived 43 years, 8 months, and 6 days. She was the most loved and most punished actress of her century, a child stolen by cameras, a woman destroyed by love, a mother who could not survive her child. She left 58 films, 2 children, one in the ground, one who still visits the grave, and the eternal image of a woman who looked at the world with eyes that had already seen the end and still found the strength to smile.